So welcome, guys. We're excited to have you here today. Patty and I started this. Patty, it's 11 weeks.
11.
11 weeks ago. Wow, that just seems impossible. We started this because when we got shut down, we weren't sure really what to do. And we said, what do you do in a pandemic? We've not lived through this before. We don't know what it's like. And so we decided we were going to go find people smarter than us and brainstorm with them and get top agents together to kind of say, what are you doing? What are you doing? What works? And it's been interesting during those 11 weeks. It's shifted and it's changed. I think what we were doing the first week is different than what we're doing in the third week and the fifth week and the eighth week. And so today I'm excited to have you guys here and thank you for being willing to share. I think we've really been able to help the real estate community in a big way. It seems like some of the leaders are still busy and they're working and they're doing stuff, and others have kind of dropped off or slowed down, and there's been a lot of couch surfing and less working. And so I feel like if we can inspire some other people to get up and going, it's a good something. I want to ask you guys first just a little bit of information about yourself, where you're from, because we've got an out-of-state guest here, a little bit about your team and how long you've been in real estate. Clinton, do you want to go first?
Sure, no problem.
Beautiful.
So I'm Clinton Selfridge, and I'm in the San Diego office. I work out of the La Jolla office area, but I pretty much cover coastal San Diego from Carlsbad to Coronado. I'm fairly new to Keller Williams. I joined about a year ago. I was with Pacific Sotheby's, the Sotheby's affiliate out here in Southern California. I was there with them for 8 years. I've been in real estate for a total of, scarily enough, 25 years. I did start right out of college. I moved to New York City.
You don't look old enough to have done it for 25 years.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to keep it that way. So I started in college, right? Went to New York City, sold there for about 10 years, had September 11th happen. And at that point, I was ready for something totally different. So I transferred my business out to San Diego, really not knowing a soul, just really wanting the lifestyle. And I knew one person essentially. So I started over, built, somewhat of a team. I don't have a large team. I do a lot of high-end luxury. My clientele tends to need a lot of hand-holding, and when they hire me, they want me. So I have 2 assistants that are on my team, buyer's agents, and then, marketing and transaction coordination. But so far for me, Keller Williams has been a fantastic experience, just as far as people sharing their ideas. When we were at Sotheby's, it was all about keeping it to yourself. There's a real element of sharing with this company, which I've really, really enjoyed so far.
What's interesting is when we started doing this panel, I think there's a real element of sharing amongst certain agents, because we've gotten a lot of non-KW agents who are just wide open to share and to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like Randy's somebody I always reach out to with something. So I think there's a mindset or something that sometimes we know if we come from abundance, we're going to give away some, but we're going to get more back. And I think that makes a big difference.
So true.
Thank you for that. Danny, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I'm Danny Bald, and I am an agent with Love Local Real Estate. I've been with them probably just over 2 years now. I've been a realtor for a total of almost 13. I started in California. I was actually in the Redondo Beach area and then transferred here back in 2010. Primarily work alone, but I just partnered with my girlfriend, Rena O'Neill. I just found, just creatively, I was getting a little stifled and I wasn't doing a lot. And I thought it would be nice to just kind of partner with somebody and have somebody to film content with, hang out with, get me out of the house. So that's been kind of a huge blessing.
It's great. It's great. It's funny how sometimes we can feed off of others and get energy, and 2 can be better than 1. It can be more like 3.
100%. Yeah.
Putting it together. That's great. That's great. Randy, what about you? Tell us about Randy Char.
Well, hello. First of all, thank you so much, Debbie, for inviting me. I'm always amazed by how you bring the real estate community together. And that's one of the reasons that I'm always so excited to share and, to participate with you, because you're one of the few brokers in town that really, share in that abundance theory, and you bring people together and you just do such a great job. And I think people need it out there. It can be a lonely sport, right? Real estate. And so it's not able to have the support of others. regardless if you work in the same firm or not. So yeah, just want to commend you for that.
Well, thank you, Randy. That means a lot coming from you, and you're built the same way, and that's why, it kind of goes back and forth. So I appreciate you.
Clinton, I'm absolutely jealous of you already. I went to school in San Diego, graduated, and there was a theory that nobody that went to school in San Diego would ever leave San Diego unless you had. So you said you've been there for 25 years, so I guess you're living my dream. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
maybe one day I can grow up and be like you.
Come on out anytime.
But my route actually, I actually came out to Vegas in the 90s when it was just kind of starting, and I worked mainly on the developer side. So I worked with national home builders as worked my way up and became a vice president of sales and marketing for 3 of the top 10 builders until the crash hit in 2008, 2009. I went back to Pepperdine and got my MBA and started a new route, which started with kind of luxury, high-rise development representation into luxury sales, and now I have my own brokerage for the last 5 years. So it's about me.
Nice. Thank you, Randy. And how is this? I wanted to ask, what are you experiencing in your business today that is different than some of the last shifts that we've experienced, 9/11, 2008? If you've been in the business that long, what's different about this shift or event that's happening for you?
I'll take credit. So I guess one of the fundamental differences is that in 2008, 2009, when it started crashing, it was really about just, the banks took over, right? Short sales. It was about the deal out there. I don't know if it was about the service. It was about if you could create good processes and systems to basically just throw lots and lots of bids in, get lots of homes. Today, I think more than ever, let's say the outstanding professional comes at a premium. And we believe that our service is of value because people don't want to just read the information that's out there. They have it at their fingertips, but they want to know what that information means. What does it mean when the median price goes up over last year and you're scratching your head going, I thought we were in a down market, or absorptions come down, or, is there a shift in development? They want you to read between the lines and really consult them. And so in order to do that, I think you have to have a really good command, and it's a full-time, 100%. You have to be all in this business, I believe, today to really serve people.
Nice, well said, to be a resource, and it is a little bit different during this time. The market has not plummeted, even though we're seeing record high unemployment rates. There's a different feeling in the air about people coming together and helping one another. It doesn't feel so hand-to-hand combat as it was back in 2008. Anybody else?
I'll jump in. Having lived in New York City during 9/11, there are some similarities, I think, between where we are now versus where we are then. Obviously, loss of life is quite different. I've just experienced such an openness in people and a real richness when it comes to having conversation and having things that are speaking about things that are important to people and really digging deep and not just having surface level conversations. Just being on the phone with people, we all know we're in sales. People are always in a hurry. They're always ready to, go into another meeting and they don't have a lot of time for you. This has been a time where I've had such rich conversations with people and really able to pinpoint and identify the true things that are important to them on the inside, not just superficial stuff. So that's one thing that I've really noticed is quite similar to the two experiences.
Has it re-inspired you to work harder in real estate with those deeper connections?
It has, and really understand the clients better and just really getting information from them that can help you, make the best of their lives and help them with their dreams. So it's been valuable. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thank you. Hey, Danny, you're back. We lost you for a hot minute.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, and she's gone again.
Can you hear me now?
She's not a quitter. She's coming back. We can hear you.
Where is it? You can hear me, but can you see me?
And
hear
now
me?
we can see you. We can hear you and see you. Welcome back.
I swear I've done this before.
One of the questions I had asked is, how is this shift or this event that's happening different than shifts or events that have happened in the past?
Yeah, I moved here during the recession, shortly thereafter, and I was working for a flipper, and they were purchasing at auction, so it was a very busy time. I think there was, initially going into this, just kind of fear of the unknown, and I think a lot of people almost felt guilty working, if that makes sense. I know personally I did. I had this. I felt torn between, okay, do I call my clients and inform them on what's going on? Or does that sound like I'm trying to capitalize on a situation? And I don't think any of us had any answers at that point to give people. I still somewhat feel that way. I get a lot of calls from buyers, especially in other states, like, oh, has your market tanked yet? Like they're just waiting. And so there's kind of this, you want to find a niche and you want to stay relevant and keep working, but you also don't want to capitalize on the situation. And so it's kind of finding a way to talk about it with clients that feels good for them, and just reaching out. I think it's more important in a time like this to reach out and just see how people are feeling, how people are doing. Like Randy said, a lot of people are just going to have questions. So I think you become more of an advisor, and just, you have to be more available, but I also don't feel as compelled to reach out as hard as maybe I would have in the past. I think when I moved here, it was like, there's great deals. Let me send everybody these emails. The market's tanking. You can pick this up for 150,000. And now it's like, just feels a little stickier.
It's interesting because it's more relationship based. And I really do believe, the iBuyers disappeared out of the market in a second. And we kind of put our arms around our people and came back in together. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing is the relationships and the connections. And I think a lot of us are really working on those now. I know, and all the time I've been in real estate, when it goes down, not everybody comes back up, right? Not all the agents are going to come back up, and there's going to be less agents in this. And it's the time really to take market share. It's the time to put your connections together and really bond with your people. I'm wondering what kind of habits have you guys, or what's changed since 11 weeks ago? That just seems 11 weeks. I'm like going, oh my gosh, I came home for 2 weeks, right? That's what I was going to do. And here we are 11 weeks later. What are you guys doing, or what new habits have you formed in the last 11 weeks? Or what are you doing differently?
My calls have been a little bit more just a care call in nature, just checking in with people, not coming from a sales angle, but just checking in with people on a human level. And that is definitely something that I feel has opened the doors even more, in having the richer conversations. Is just drop the sales for now. I am starting to come back in as a second care call. I've waited about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm checking in with the same people again. This time asking a little bit more for, a business on the call, just saying, do you know anyone that I can help? But just making it very informal and less salesy has opened up a lot of doors for me.
That's great. Anybody else, new habits or new things you're doing?
I'll speak.
I might add some perspective. Go ahead, Danny.
No, go.
Well, I think every time you speak, Danny, you should go to a different room in the house, because I want to see how you design it. And that's what I'm interested in. Yeah.
And let me tell
It
you,
looks good so far.
After you answer, you should run to the next place and then show us. Never mind. All right. So back to our discussion here. I think for me, it's a paradigm shift. What do I mean by that? I think there's 2 things I really want to understand from people. And that is, what is their opinion and their perspective of the COVID virus? Okay. And the second is, what is their opinion of what they think is going to happen in the future? And here's why those are so important to understand them first. First, seek to understand and be understood, right? Sometimes we don't want to, I think leading with opinions too strongly can be to a detriment, right? Do we really know what's going to happen? There's realtors and practitioners out there that are painting this
sometimes this happens. Sometimes he'll come back. We'll have to see. We'll give him a minute. If not, oh,
Balance, okay, to 2009. That understand the perspective. Here's what I mean by this. Hello?
You broke up a little bit.
Am I breaking up? Am I
Lost you,
okay?
not now. We lost you at opinion. Sometimes coming on too strong with opinions can be a detriment, and then we lost you.
Oh, sorry. How about now? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
Okay, so let me start with the COVID discussion. COVID is almost as dangerous a discussion, and you guys know what you mean, what I'm probably talking about, as your political discussion of which side you side on in gun control and whatever else. It's nearly grabbing to that level. If you understand, like if you talk to someone, you just have to understand that from that perspective, because that's going to guide their thoughts about what happens in the real estate market and everything else. You follow me so far?
Mm-hmm.
So now, if someone's opinion about the market is really horrible, then you need to back them up with some stats, but you have to guide them and say, you know what? I understand your opinion. Here's what I'm seeing in the market. Here I'm going to go. Here's how we're going to navigate forward. What I'm finding in my practice today is, yes, it's important to check in. I agree with that. I also think some people are really sitting there thinking, what do I do? Is it time to make a move? And rather than get onto the bandwagon of, is it going to go up or down? Find out where their lifestyle is. If you could paint a picture about where you want to be in the next 6 months, and if that vision is not where you currently live, maybe today is a good time to make a move, especially if you are going up in price. So for example, if you have a $500,000 home and you might need a discount at 5% for COVID, right? I tell people, get ahead of the curve. Don't try to get every last penny, sell your property, because guess what? You're probably going to get a deal, or there's going to be potentially less shoppers on that $1 million home you're going to get. And the delta is going to be far smaller and more achievable with interest rates today than it will be if you wait. So that's one example of how you might get in position. A lot of my clients are asking, hey, should I go invest in a home? I'm like, well, let's start with your own home and your own living situation first. Because whether the market goes up or down, we can fix that for you now. And this might be the best time to do it. And by the way, it might be the time they're thinking about it. I read a statistic this morning that traffic is up 18% on Zillow. So maybe the activity isn't there, but sure, people are really, I believe people are sitting around and they are looking and they're researching and they know more about what's going on in their neighborhood because they're not as busy.
you know, it's interesting, Randy, because I feel like so many people, you know, being at home for this long, I think people are either looking around going, this is great, I love it, or, oh my gosh, this is not so great. I need to have this, or I need to, you know, if they're in California, they might be going, I can't live in 1,200 or 1,500 square feet for my little box. You don't have a 500,000, but they're, you know, serious money for some small spaces. So I think people are really going to be looking up and going, what matters and what do I need? What's important, right?
Yeah, if I may add, Debbie, if you introduce the idea of exploration, right? You say, hey, I have no idea whether today's the right day or it's a month or a year, but maybe it's not going to hurt if we go out and take a look around and I'll show you what's happening. And specifically what I'm typically doing today is I'm showing them what they can do to buy more home. And it's probably less perception in terms of payment than they probably think that it is to achieve that. Number two, I'm taking the new development a lot right now, because new development, you don't have to worry about selling your house in 30 days, carrying 2 houses, buying another house. You might be a year out before it's built, and you can ride that. You know, you don't have to worry about those bumps along the way, and you can show them a vision of how homes are built. I mean, Danny is an expert at aesthetics and design. I mean, tell me how different homes look today and how they're modeling them than even 5 years ago in Vegas.
Yeah, and Randy, just to piggyback on that, one of the things that I've found is a lot of people reaching out that had already had their homes listed or were in the process of listing their homes, and all of a sudden, you know, the husband and wife one or both are at home now and they're like, hey, we have some time to do projects that we may not have otherwise done before listing our home, or their home just hadn't sold. So I'm trying to find a way to manage that and just really guide people on what makes the most sense in terms of rehab or do it yourself. You know, are there things that your husband Joe should do or are there things that should be outsourced? But beyond that, kind of how's that going to affect your resale value? Because, you know, you have the time and we're all kind of at this point where, you know, hopefully we're still able to pay our bills and we're still getting a paycheck to some extent. So it's like, oh, let's put a little extra money into the house. But is refurbishing your kitchen at this point in time going to get you as much on the back end? And I think that's something I've had to kind of explain to people is, you know, most of the calls I'm getting from buyers are starting with, hey, I'm looking for a deal, or, hey, I heard your market's going to tank. So where do we need? And so, you know, people have the extra time, but I'm also trying to manage them accordingly and let them know, you know, where their money is best spent. And maybe it makes sense to just cut your losses on some of those things. And if you do feel that the market is going to dip even a little bit, you know, maybe spending $25,000 on the kitchen right now isn't a good call.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, Danny, with offers, are you being asked, or are you guys getting requests to write lowball offers? What are you seeing on your listings with your buyers? Because I've heard that quite often, oh, I can get a deal now, I can get a deal, and we're not in that space. So are you getting those requests, and how are you handling those?
You know, you have to handle it delicately, because if somebody's calling you as a buyer and they're looking for a deal, it's your job to represent them and advocate for them. And so you want to get them the best deal possible. But there's also that part of me that's slightly offended when I hear that, because I live here. This is my hometown. I want to make sure our prices don't drop. So, you know, for example, I have a listing at 1.3 million right now, and I got an offer the other day at 500,000. And I think something like that, I mean, I can't respond how I should, but you know, I try to be as nice as I can and just explain to people, hey, maybe you think we'll get there. We're not there yet. I'd be happy to put you on a search, and when we do get there, I'll let you know. Also with sellers, I think there's a lot of fear on their end. So I try to have the same conversation with them. Like, these are the calls that I'm getting. This is what we should have lined up to tell them. This is why your house is worth this. This is why, you know, especially if somebody's buying a primary residence that they're going to live in for the next 30 years, some of these things, you know, the market's going to change 2 to 3 more times anyway. So you have to be able to really line out, what is it about this house that makes it a great buy? If you're dealing with an investor, of course, that's a totally different conversation. Right. Well said.
You know, those are really good points, Danny. I would say if one of the best things you can do right now, I think, if you want to know where the deals are in the market, is I'd love to call a lot of my cohorts or real estate agents. And when I'm talking to them, and I know that they do a bunch of listings, I say, hey, let me ask you a question. If you had to give me your top 3 listings that probably have the most motivated sellers, which properties would those be? And what I do is I ask, and I don't dig too much why, because I want to respect their privacy with their client. But hey, it's funny how if you talk to agents, most of them, like, they will light up like a Christmas tree. Oh my gosh, bring me an offer on this one. I know they'll take, you know, and they can't help themselves almost. And we can as humans, because we say, oh my gosh, here's my chance. This is the house to go after. But you know what? You are serving, even they are serving their sellers by telling you, because because right now, I don't believe there's mass deals out there, but there are opportunities out there for sure, where there are situations with people that either believe, right? Remember, like that first conversation we had, that the world is going to come to an end. I want to get ahead of it. And by the way, they have the prerogative of that. And if you have a buyer that can get into a house like that, it's nice to know, you know? But I absolutely agree. If I'm advising my buyers to lowball, I don't do that unless I understand what the situation is. And is it a house that they're buying as an investment, or are they buying it to live in? Because if they're buying an investment, then I'm like, listen, you need to widen your circle or your scope of what's possible. You might have to put some work into the home. You might have to be a little bigger, a little smaller, a little further out, right? Then I can probably find you that I have a better chance of finding you that deal. But if it's narrow in scope, then understand that the market today is the market today. We're going to maybe get a good price, but please don't expect, to go in there. The demand is just too hot. So that's kind of a perspective I've been finding lately that's helped.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
and I think,
Oh, go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say, I think the nice thing is we've all dealt with, people coming to us who have seen prices on Zillow and using that as kind of a starting point. My house is worth this or whatever. So I think the good thing is, since prices haven't dropped substantially, that's not being reflected online. So it's not like my buyer from, across the country is looking on Zillow and all of a sudden the prices are 100,000 and they want that deal. I think when they call, it's just a matter of educating them, and it's, at least we're not up against false information or information spreading extremely fast. I mean, the truth is we're just not there yet, and people know that.
Well, it's a great opportunity for us to control the narrative, right? Because people are looking for information, and we don't have a crystal ball, but we only know what we know today.
Right.
But here's getting back to what's compelling for people to take action. So I'll give you an example. Myself, I'm selling my house in Red Rock Country Club. It's a pretty hot market, over $1 million. There's 9 homes in escrow right now.
I have a buyer for 500,000.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, you can have, which wing of the house do you want? So I know that I'm prepared. I know that I'm probably going to come back maybe a few percent, 5% or whatever from from a few months ago. However, the house I'm buying, I believe that I'm buying it 20% undervalued, and it's about the same price point. So at the end of the day, you shouldn't get fixated on what you believe you deserve on the home that you're in, but rather what is the overall economic consequence of your move if you make it in this environment. So I think that's important to focus on that.
What are you seeing in La Jolla, Clinton?
Well, I think when all the COVID-19 things started, there were a lot of buyers calling me, saying that they were looking for deals, and the deals just didn't formulate. And of course, it depends upon location and price point. Things in the lower price points, we still had multiple bids, and we lost out. And I think there were a couple of buyers that we had to lose some properties before they realized that they're not going to get that magic price that they thought they were before. I think on the luxury side of things, it's a little slower. I think the luxury client is able to be a lot more discretionary. They don't have to sell. They have a place to live, and it just, of course, depends upon their particular situation. I have seen some sellers get more comfortable with lowering their prices based on COVID-19, and they're saying, we don't know how long this is going to be around. Might be wave of the future. Let's just go ahead and reduce now and not wait it out. So I have seen that sort of, psychological stuff happening as well. So that's, there is a little bit more of a, I'm finding that people are getting away from the high rises more so right now because they don't want to be around people as much. So our downtown has a very thriving high rise market. Downtown's a little soft right now. The homes in the suburbs are the ones that people are more excited about. So, getting a little bit more space and a little bit more elbow room has been something that I'm seeing a bit more of a priority with clients.
Thank you for that. Anything on the luxury lending side you're seeing different? Any bumps in the road?
For me, so many of my clients are all cash, and then they worry about refinancing later. On the lower end, I haven't seen. There were a few weeks where it felt really bumpy, and you just didn't know what was really going on. But it seems in our market to have sort of calmed down a bit, and I'm not seeing any huge.
The stock market's making its way back. This morning they hit a huge surge. And Randy, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my answering machine to beep off. No, just kidding.
And Debbie texted me, she lost her power, so she's trying to get back on with us. She didn't just
I actually
ghost
pulled that
us,
down
so.
about 5 minutes ago. I switched computers. I don't know if you guys noticed. Anyways, I was trying to do sleight of hand. So it's very interesting that the jumbo market, because of, I guess, forbearance and everything, the investing market for jumbo loans is definitely shrunk, for sure. And I see that it's concerning, right? That there are ways that you can still get jumbo loans. I know banks that are still lending, but
Yep.
they're definitely tightening up. I mean, if you are not fitting in, an ideal box, you may not get the loan. The second thing they're not doing cash out refis, for the first 60 days. A lot of times you can buy that. In the luxury market, I think we all deal in the luxury
Right.
market. You can sometimes pay cash, right? And then within 60 days, you get a purchase loan, but it's really a cash out refi. Like, as an example, Bank of America just ceased that 2 days ago. And they're one of the jumbo lenders in town. I'm just giving you an example. I don't know when this comes back or if others follow, but it's definitely narrowing in terms of jumbo rates. However, the good news is if you can get one, rates are still great.
Great.
One of the things, Patty, just to add to that, one of the things I've noticed on my listing in Spanish Trail is within probably the past 7 to 10 days, I've had at least 5 calls about owner carries, which I thought was interesting. I rarely get those calls.
Yeah.
Some of them were laughable. Some of them are, 10 years for 1%, which, wouldn't make sense.
Call me if that works out. Let me know.
Exactly. Let me know where I can get that loan. But I think a lot of people, just have money or property tied up, and everybody's kind of in the same situation. That's what's so interesting about this situation is everybody across the United States is dealing with it to some extent. It's not like this guy in Denver has a bunch of money and our market just plummeted. So, I think a lot of people that have money just don't have access to it right now. So I'm seeing a lot of requests for owner carries, which is interesting. A lot of agents haven't specialized in that, haven't dealt with that. So that'll be interesting to see if they pan out or if the automatic answer is just no, because we don't normally do those. But it makes sense for some sellers too. I mean, if they really didn't need to cash out right away, but just could free up, say, 20 to 50% and start making interest on that and have a little side income, you never know.
And it is a specialty skill. You really have to know how to craft that the right way. But that creative financing, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
We to piggyback on that, actually, that reminds me, 2 months ago, we just did we had a listing that was about 8,000 feet, but it was in one of those, older areas. So it's a really tough sell for over $1 million at that size. I mean, it was built 30 years ago.
Wow.
And the people that came there really valued the land. And they were in a position where they may have difficulty financing or didn't want to. And so we structured an owner carry deal with an escalating interest rate because we didn't agree on terms at first. But what we did was we said, listen, the owner will give you incentive, to pay out early by having a smaller interest rate, but then it'll escalate over a period of 3 years or whatever. I think it was 3 or 4 years. And it was a total win-win situation because the seller said, listen, I said, you can either have half your money now, or I'm not sure how long it's going to take. If I look historically, there hasn't been $1 million sale in your neighborhood for, 700 days. So this might be something you might want to take a look at. He was in a retirement mode, so getting a little income wasn't bad at all. So I think it really worked out good. And I think advising your sellers that is an option is a powerful tool, can be a powerful tool if structured correctly.
Yeah, and check with your broker. Make sure you structure it correctly if you've never done one before, but that's a great success story. And then let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about mindset and motivation. What are each of you doing to keep your mindset up? Do you have a routine? Are you reading something special? Any virtual workouts? Like, what are you doing to keep your mindset up being at home so much?
For me, I'm doing virtual workouts in the morning. I'm
Nice.
trying to stay on as much of a schedule as possible, but I've always realized in real estate, if you don't get your workout done in the morning, it's never going to get done, at least for me. there's always, client issues that come up later in the day. For me, it's just been trying to calendar my time. And my first 4 hours in the morning is client reach out. We're lead genning and we're looking for business and we're making connections and we're contacting the database. And then afternoon is, I have been taking Bold just because I'd never done it before and it was new to me at Keller Williams. And just taking a lot of webinars and trying to learn new things that personally I've never had this much time to slow down and take advantage of learning something new. And there's so many things. Obviously, we all know we're inundated with Zoom calls, and just trying not to take too much. I remember at the end of one day after I did 7 Zoom calls for me, I'm like, I don't have any more in my bandwidth. This is enough already. So just trying to, do some Zoom calls, but take time for yourself and take time for your business and take time to connect with the people that are on your team that are not there. So it's just trying to keep as much of a schedule as possible. California showings are a little challenging right now. We've got these special forms. I don't know if you have them in Vegas right now, but we always have to know who's coming to see the property, have them sign a DocuSign form that just puts everyone on alert. It's a coronavirus advisory. So we've become a little bit more of the gatekeepers, which I think is an interesting role that I've never really been in California, because the agents here just, they open up the door for whoever wants to walk in, whether it be an open house or a client showing, from a qualified buyer. But now we're forced to keep track of who is walking through the door. And, in New York, when I sold there, we always registered the client's name, everyone always knew who was coming through. So it's interesting how, we're there with our masks and our gloves and our booties and, trying to be safe, and they're required by everyone to come through the door now. So it's been an interesting time, just, with the schedule and also to piggyback on that with showings.
Sounds like you've got a more purposeful schedule. You're really scrutinizing what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to, and having to be the gatekeeper for who goes in each home. That's a new element in your business, right? A new process.
Totally. And, just for health reasons, initially, a lot of us in the office wanted to make sure that that person had been pre-qualified before we put ourselves in a situation. Things have calmed down now, but that's the way it was feeling early on. We didn't want to waste our time on showings with someone that wasn't real. So we're doing that on the upfront side of things now.
Well, making you more efficient too in the long run. Hopefully that's a habit that'll stay, right?
I hope so. I kind of like it.
Yeah, right?
Good. We won't tell anyone. Anyone else? What are you doing to stay motivated and keep yourself upbeat?
Patty, can I just add real quick?
Yeah.
I'll talk about the motivation in a second, but I just wanted to add on virtual showings. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but there's been something for me really freeing about doing video or virtual showings for my clients. And I don't know if it's me personally, but I'm always reading my clients when I'm in the room with them. So there's a lot of times that I'm not really even taking in the house. I'm not noticing a crack in the ceiling. I'm not noticing a second bathroom. Sometimes I leave the house and my client's like, were there 2 bathrooms or 3? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know, because I was looking at you, trying to read your verbal cues. But it's really allowed me to be a lot more objective. And I think, again, just to service my clients better, in the sense that when I'm at that property, I want to be in that property for max 5 to 7 minutes, right? I came to do a job. I'm not there to socialize. And I think it's just really got me a little bit more in the zone. Same thing, just having my kids home a lot of the time used to be, I don't want to say a disadvantage, but it was, I always had to find a babysitter if I wanted to go show a house. And now it's kind of given me the luxury of like, you know what, now I have 2 great assistants that come with me, and my daughter can hold the phone, my son can get the lighting right. But, it's taken some of the pressure off, I guess, just as a working mom. I don't feel like I'm trying to keep up, because I feel like we're all it's a level playing field. Some of us have kids at home, some of us don't. we're doing virtual showings. We're all having to change up the way we do things. And so it's given me a little bit of flex room, which has actually been nice.
Yeah.
And has, again, just kept me motivated and has kind of made things more interesting.
Yeah, it's funny, when I sold, I had two young boys at home, and I realized quickly I had 6 hours during the day. I thought, I'd drop them off at school. And I thought, no, I have 6 hours to really get on it, make things happen. I would door knock, they would ride their scooters, just find a way to make it work. But that 6 hours it had to be powerful.
Yeah.
Great. How about you, Randy? You playing tennis? 6 feet apart.
6 feet apart. Actually, I'm actually playing more golf. I'm determined to get to a single-digit handicap this year. So,
All right, you heard it here first.
you heard it here first. Part of accountability is you have to tell somebody, right? Well, so I guess now I'm accountable.
Yeah, we only get about 400 or 500 views. Don't worry, no pressure.
So there's only 400 people I'm accountable. Okay, that's all right. But actually, it's actually close to the truth. My feeling is this. Well, I think everybody wouldn't be on this call if they weren't extremely driven individuals, maybe too driven sometimes, right? And
Yes.
I remember from the time that I was in college till the crash of, whatever, the 99, that was almost for me, it was almost a 20-year span. And so that was my first break. And when the world was coming to an end in real estate, instead of just working so hard with real estate, I actually took an opposite view. And I was fortunate enough that I, put a couple nuts away for a rainy day and all that stuff, but saved a little bit for a rainy day. So I went to Park City and had a house there, and I decided to become a ski bum for 6 months and
Nice.
do my MBA. So on one hand, I didn't give up on being driven in life. I just didn't emphasize, I just took a break. And then now it's almost 10 years later, and we have a very rare opportunity. I think if I were to give one message to all my hardworking friends out there is take advantage of it. Yes, don't, stay on top of your business and stay busy. And I'm busy, but I'm really concentrating on all the other things. I have life goals for golf. If you have family and I have kids, this is a time where I'm going to do everything I can to go on as many vacations, get outdoors, pick up new things, pick up new sports, stay in shape. I'm on a 100 sit-up challenge every morning, like Clint.
Wow.
But wish I could do it on a surfboard, but I can't. So I'm just going to do it in my house. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny how little things become exciting. Like I'm on, I think, day 29 of my sit-ups. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I see a 2-pack. I think I see something. I think I see the formation of something that looks like shadowing just in this region over here. I mean, whatever it is that can get you excited about something, that's how you're going to make it through. And by the way, you're going to be a better professional and a better person for the people that you're close to, your loved ones, your friends, and everyone else. Concentrate on that. That's my advice. And stay on top of the business in terms of the information. And work hard, but don't work yourself into. This is not the time to work yourself into the ground. You'll have plenty of chances to do that. I predict, hopefully, in the near future.
What a nice. Oh, go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of our clients, just with social media being such a thing and such a way for us to connect with our clients, so many of our clients are following us on social media. And I think it's a nice breath of fresh air for them to see us hanging out with our kids and taking care of our houses and starting gardens and just things that make us relatable. I think sometimes, like Randy said, we're driven to our own detriment, and everything we put out there is, look at me, I'm working, I'm so busy, I'm stressed, and we think that creates the illusion that we're successful and we're doing well, and then people will want to work with us. But I'm finding a lot of my past clients and potentially future clients reaching out on, hey, I saw you're planting jalapenos. We have jalapenos, so it's a nice time to let your guard down, let people know what you're doing around the house. And I think just relate to your clients probably on a different level.
Authenticity and being vulnerable. And it's interesting you say that, because I notice when I put a personal post up, I get way more likes and interaction than if I'm doing something in real estate related. So there's a lot of truth. Good observation.
Yep.
Well,
I've
we
always
only
been
have-
in that camp too. I have a business, Facebook and Instagram, but I'm just one person, right? This is one person's opinion. I typically am lighter on my on my list. I don't post a lot of listings on Facebook and Instagram. It's a personal choice. I want people to know who I am. I want to be able to relate to other people, because at the end of the day, especially in the high-end market, everyone knows plenty of real estate professionals. So
Right.
it's how well they know you and how well they trust your ability and your brand. And that's an important thing. Today, if you work on anything, I think if I was giving advice on what the opportunity is, it's an opportunity to build your brand in this market as well, reinforce what you're doing and answer it for yourself, where you want to be coming out of this. I think that's important to have that direction.
Yeah, because people will do business with people they know, like, and trust. And social media has allowed us to be closer to people who maybe we haven't spoken to in quite some time, but they know what's happening in your life. So the minute you're able to reconnect with them, it's a very warm conversation. There's no awkwardness because, they saw you doing the 100 sit-ups a day challenge or whatever it is. It makes it lighter, makes it more human to human. Well, we only have a few minutes left. I guess, Debbie, I don't know, I should be preparing for her to come over here and sit in my air-conditioned house. I know she's going to be sad that she missed you, but any parting words of advice? We have about 5 minutes left. Any parting words of advice that you would give our audience?
Who's going to go first?
I think
That's it.
Okay.
Enjoy the time, huh?
No, I think, again, I think emphasizing, be knowledgeable about what you're doing. Be real, but you have to take this. I think you have to back off the salesmanship in today's world a little bit more. Like, we all are selling. We know that we can't help ourselves. But I think in this environment, you really have to back that up and understand where their perception is, because their perception is their reality, right? You can move it a little bit, a few degrees left or right. But the best advice professionally I give to people is get prepared, get educated. If your buyer is going to be a buyer in the future, start now. Like, look at stuff. I'm not saying that we need to go out with the intention that we're going to make an offer this week, but let's get going on it. If you're a seller, let's be realistic of knowing what's around you and what's really going to take to give you the best chance. And to Danny's point, maybe you might do that remodel, maybe you don't, but you have to put your best foot forward if you're serious about selling your property today. You can't just throw it up there and expect it's going to happen. And most of all, take care of yourself. This is a tough time. Limit how much news you're wearing. Who cares about what the death toll is in the U.S.? That's just, it's not information that's really important. I think we're all going to get through this. One thing I do know about Las Vegas especially is that we are extremely resilient, and things become yesterday's news pretty quickly. So I think
I love that.
Brighter days ahead of us. So thank you so much for moderating. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any final parting words of advice, Clinton or Danny, for our audience?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on. It was really a
Thank
pleasure spending time with you, Randy and Danny. I would just say pretty much what everyone has said. This is a time for authenticity. I think that people want to know who's behind the sales persona, and people just want to know that you're a real person. And that I think that's an important thing about what's happening in our lives right now is we're all having to adjust and do things way differently than we've ever done before. And when you're on a Zoom call and you have colleagues' kids run across the room and your dog's barking, and I think that's what makes life rich. And I think it's fun to sort of feel like everyone has their guard down a little bit, and to know who's on the inside. And my thing is just be vulnerable and sort of tap into that.
Thank you for that. And then Clinton, just one other thing quickly. If somebody has a referral or wanted to get in touch with you in San Diego, how would they do that?
They can send me a text or phone call at 619-519-0964, or Clinton@clintonselfridge.com.
Great.
And my website is my name, clintonselfridge.com.
Thank you for that. How about you,
happy
Danny?
to help.
Parting words?
Parting words, I think I'll just second what everybody else said. I think it's a great time to put yourself first, take care of your clients, reach out. I'm definitely I'm probably enjoying it more than I should, in the sense that, I think sometimes we're forced into taking a break, and it's a good time to reflect. And I hope everybody will use that time to reflect, and whether that's growing your business, whether that's rerouting entirely and, moving to a farm. I hope this will just be a time of reflection for people, and everybody kind of comes out on top at the end of this.
Great.
And thank you for having me.
Yes, excellent advice. Thank you all again for taking the time to be with us and sharing with our real estate community. And hopefully this has inspired others. I know it has inspired me. So thank you again, and be safe and have a great afternoon.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
guys.
much.
Have a
Bye,
good rest of the
everyone.
day. Bye.
Okay, bye.